Okay, I think everybody that's going to join is joining, and if they come in a little late, we'll have this recording available as well. Just wanted to say hi face to face before I turn off my video so we can maximize the screen size here. I'll go ahead and turn that off now. Welcome to today's webinar. The title is Leverage New Features, Improve User Efficiency, Increase Access to Data, and Reduce IT Overhead. This webinar is really specifically tailored for owners and general managers, and is really meant to show you what the upgrade to EnCore can mean for your business. Upgrade to EnCore from Imaginera can mean for your business. By way of introduction, my name's Eric Nolan. That picture must have been taken in the winter before I had my summer tan. But I'm a senior vice president here at Amtech. I've been with the company many years and been involved in lots of the implementations of Imaginera, the system you may have today. And then also very instrumental in helping clients understand the value of the upgrade to EnCore, the web-based version of Imaginera. So one of the first things we'll talk about is that difference between the old and the new. And on the left there, you see a picture of Imaginera. Imaginera, I was around when it was created in the mid-90s. And so it's coming up on, 20, almost 30 years old. Coming up in the next year or so, it'll be about 30 years old. So it's done a good job for many of our customers over the years. The new version, EnCore, which is web-based, came out right around 2018. So that's been in the marketplace five or so years now. Well over half of our clients have upgraded from Imaginera to EnCore as of today. And we have a goal of getting a lot more of those Imaginera customers upgraded before the end of the year. One of the biggest differences between the old and the new and Imaginera and EnCore is that it's a web-based application, and that means you can run the software from any device that supports a web browser. I happen to be on the Chrome browser, but that means you can run on your Macs, you can run on PCs, laptops, desktops, tablets, iPads, Android tablets. Anything that supports a browser can run the software. The other big benefit to our customers is that it's a very secure platform. The web-based version, EnCore, is Veracode verified. That's a service that we subscribe to that does regular scans on our software looking for vulnerabilities. And then as new vulnerabilities come out with cyber attacks and so forth, we're able to identify any inconsistencies with the Veracode verification and close those holes up in the software before they become an issue for our customers. And then probably the biggest thing that you'll notice when you move to EnCore is the enhanced user interface. Makes your users more productive, and it also makes their jobs easier. And so what we'll do is we'll walk through a couple different areas where that user interface has been much improved. The first area we're going to look at is the home screen. When you first log into the EnCore system, what the users are presented with. As you saw there on the prior menu system there, Imaginera had that very Windows-looking menu system with the buttons to push for different areas. What we've replaced that with is a tile-based front screen or home screen that users can tailor to the modules that they like to go into. And so I'll go into that right now and show you what it looks like. I'll flip over to my Chrome browser. And what you see here is a home screen with tiles for commonly used features that you might get into. There's an alerts section in the middle here where you can set up alerts for different conditions. Like, for example, this is showing me current period sales, and here we are, July 2nd. I think I did a demo this morning, so if I hit refresh here, my numbers changed, and I actually did one little invoice this morning for $273. There's also a third section here for independent links, and that's like bookmarks going out to other websites. But this is the home screen that users log into when they start their day. This tile, for example, it takes someone right to the customer service module. If I click on it, maybe I'm the customer service rep for Starbucks, and it goes right to customer service. It clicks on order entry, it finds Starbucks, and it hits the search. And guess what? I go from one click on a home screen tile, goes right into the application and brings up all their open orders for me without having to navigate through the system. So here we are inside the EnCore application. It's automatically opened up a few tabs, including the open order search. The other thing that you'll notice usability-wise with the system, since it's web-based, we can use the browser's zoom features. And so in this case, the Chrome browser has the option to be able to zoom. And in fact, I was already zoomed in. That's 100%. And if I have a nice big monitor, I can really zoom in. With my old eyes, sometimes I'll zoom in even bigger. So the ability for you to zoom in and out of the software to increase or reduce the resolution allows you to really tailor the screen to make it a pleasant viewing experience, if you will. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, in addition to that zoom feature, is the ability for you to tailor the interface. The interface is tab-based, so as you'll see here, I'll go back to the application. Customer service is a good example where they may wear lots of hats. So here we are in the customer service module. We're opening up Starbucks and open orders. Maybe they have to go out and into the purchasing module and go into sheet ordering. So you'll see that it opens up another tab. Maybe later on in the day, they are looking up inventory for a customer and want to search inventory. Maybe they're going into the job cost system to see information about how a job ran. So you can see here, each time I open up one of these tabs, open up one of these applications, it opens a new tab. And you can reorder these tabs and put them in the order that you like to see. You can also, once you have lots of tabs open, you can even navigate between them from the common toolbar at the top of the screen here. You can jump, between tabs. One last way to manage the tabs, if we didn't have enough already, was this little dial pad icon over here on the right. And that's where you can see thumbnails of the tabs that you're working within and jump right to them. So lots of ways for your users to tailor their experience and work their way through. And as they're finished with an application, they can close it with just by clicking on the X there and close them one at a time. You also can hit the close all button and close all the tabs, maybe at the end of the day before you head home. I'll do, while I'm out here, I'll do a quick inventory search for this customer Starbucks just to show you one other feature. And that is, each time you do a search or, for example, the inventory, the open orders, when you do a search there, you get a grid full of data. And one of the next things that we'll talk about is how those grids are going to make people much more productive. And every grid, or I think we call them table windows in Imaginera, but every grid has this common functionality, and there's a little toolbar at the top of each of those grids. And I've exploded it out on the right here so you can see it a little larger. The hamburger menu is a context-sensitive menu, like a right click. So think if you were on a tablet, you wouldn't have a mouse necessarily. How do you execute a right click or a double click? So that we gave you little options for that here. So if you are using a tablet, you could right click an order. The plus sign is to add a new row. The copy is for copy and paste. I'll skip this one here, but that's an export to Excel that we'll go into in a second. There's also a publish icon that lets you publish whatever's in the grid to a report, which can be a PDF. There's also the ability to customize columns, and I'll go into that specifically. And then you can also expand the grid and have it take up the full screen and then restore it back. So let's just go take a look in the application at what those grids look like. So here I am in customer service. I've got a grid, and there's my grid icon. So if I was on a tablet and I highlighted this order and I wanted to right click like I would with a mouse, but I'm on a tablet, I would just hit that little touch and it would do a right click automatically. The other options there for copy and paste and so forth are there. The other feature I wanted to talk about was the ability for the users to move columns around. You could do this in Imaginera, but it wouldn't always save when you went and got another upgrade or a release. You might have to reset your columns. We've now moved those column settings to the database. So now if you change the order of a column or the width of a column, it's stored permanently by user ID. So when you log back in, it restores it. The other thing you couldn't do in Imaginera was hide a column. If there was a column out here to the right that you had no interest in seeing, the only thing you could do in Imaginera is maybe make it really tiny and move it out to the right. Well, now we have this icon right here above the grid that lets me bring up a list of all the available columns and hide them by moving them to the right-hand side here. So in this way, each user on every grid in the system are able to tailor that view to exactly how they want to use the software. And then a couple last things there. You can also click any column and sort it in ascending or descending order to quickly find the item you're looking for, whether it be a PO number or item, et cetera. And then the last thing I'll talk about with the grids that most people are excited about is this export to Excel. And sounds like a simple thing, but it's so powerful. And some of the examples there, you can look for specs and get a list of specs in a grid, or open orders or inventory balances like I'm doing, and then quickly dump that into Excel to work with it on your own and do your own formatting. So here's a good example. We're in order processing. We filled the screen with a list of orders, and we just hit that icon to export to Excel. it will drop it into your browser's download folder. And then when you open it up, it's going to launch the Excel program. And right away, there's all the data that you just exported into a spreadsheet, already parsed with column headings. Numbers are numbers, dates are dates. So you can immediately have your folks working on this data and using it right away. Another example is the inventory inquiry. If I needed to get a customer a quick list of all the items that are currently on hand, I could do that very quickly and drop it out into Excel and immediately work with that. So, across the system, good examples of a couple of the different exports that you're able to do. One last one I'll show you is the spec search, and that one's pretty good too. So if I go into here and I pick my favorite customer today, which is Starbucks, and I go into specs, and it brings up the spec search. If I wanted to go out and find all the active items that I have for them, maybe I'll exclude the RFQ items, hit search here and get a list of all the specs we run for this customer right now. Again, real quick dump out to Excel, and I get all those columns right into Excel, and I could format it the way I wanted before using it and sending it to the client. All right, moving along. There's no such thing as a free lunch, but there is free software with EnCore. So a couple modules that we used to previously charge separately for that you may or may not have heard of before as an owner or a manager. One of them is called Workflow. So what we've decided to do is include the Workflow module in EnCore in the base package. And the Workflow module, if you haven't heard of it, it's a place within the EnCore system to manage all your requests that you get from sales and maybe from customers for designs or for samples or for quotes. I've seen in lots of plants around the country where, they either have paper forms or email or Excel sheets where they're trying to keep track of these requests. And just as important as the customer getting their quote is the sales rep knowing the status of it. So sales reps spend a lot of cycles calling customer service, asking what's the status of the request, and maybe customer service has to call design to find out. Well, here's a place for you to store, create, and save these requests, and set up the steps that request has to go through, and when you might need that, so that you can keep track of those requests. And then there are views that you can set up. Maybe there's a view for design to see all the open design requests, and they can work on them. As they complete their part of it, it completes it, it puts a date in there, and you can even measure how long it takes to get things done and have goals for turnaround time on your quotes and your design and sample requests. So it's a really nice system that you may have not had access to or visibility of in Imaginera, now part of the standard EnCore system. And it's something that you could really leverage, I think, to automate everything that happens prior to a spec being built. And we even have people using it to do approvals for pricing and things like that. So Workflow module, free. All you would need is just some services to spin it up and train your users how to use it. But basically, you'll always know the status of all the requests that are sitting out there at any point in time, and you don't have things falling through the cracks. The other piece of free software that's part of the standard EnCore setup is the quality module. And prior to that in Imaginera, we had a program called RGA, or return goods authorizations. And that's how people would put in credit requests, for damaged product or something like that. Well, the quality module was really written to encompass RGAs, but also to incorporate non-conformances or complaints. So everything starts with that first non-conformance that's entered, and that could be entered either from a customer calling in and customer service, starting the process, right-clicking an order and starting a non-conformance, or it could be something out on the floor where someone notices either a product or a process that's not working properly, and they could put a complaint or a non-conformance in. And it can end there with a complaint being tracked, corrective action being applied, and the complaint being closed, or it could turn into a return good authorization, and then follow through that path there. And I know that's a little bit of an eye chart, but suffice it to say that the quality module could actually take the place of some of the paper processes you may have in place now for doing some of this checking. And then the last piece is corrective actions, and that's where and preventive actions. So where you can assign investigators to track down what happened to cause that problem, and then come up with corrective actions to make sure it doesn't happen again. And you can document all this and then be able to review it. And then that information is then available to customer service, to production, to see what previous complaints or returns had happened for these items or customers. So free software is always a good thing. You get free workflow software and you get free quality software. And again, as I mentioned, those were chargeable modules in the Imaginera world. One last thing I want to talk about is right from within the software, right from within EnCore, your users will have access to the AmTech Academy. And this is somewhat of a new venture that we started this year. If you know Sue Han, one of our longtime employees, she's heading up the effort to build this learning management system for our users to take advantage of. There's no cost to join the AmTech Academy. And as you can see here, you can sign up for different courses. Some of them are free, some of them are paid, but there's lots of content out there for your folks to be able to access. So if I flip over into the software here and I go into my user's profile and I go out to the training portal, right from within the application, it takes me into my training. And if I look at the courses I'm set up for, if I click on my courses, I've actually gone in and downloaded a basic spec building walkthrough and how to post a delivery receipt to invoicing, both free courses that I can click on and take those courses, basically computer-based training. And there's all kinds of free content out there. If I went out to all courses and search for a topic, for example, maybe I'm thinking about putting Top Gun in the wireless inventory. So if I go out there and start typing Top Gun, you can see here I have how to use Top Gun, quick reference, the setup, getting ready to go to Top Gun. These are all free self-paced content. So very, very advantageous to you to take advantage of this Learning Academy for your users. And we've even got clients that will take that and create certifications internally to say, hey, these customer service folks or these shipping people have gone through all the courses that are available in the Academy, and we can certify them as AmTech ready for those modules. The last thing I want to talk about today is 4 modules that are available to your company now in the EnCore world. The first one was available to you in Imaginera, but we did not have a lot of customers using it necessarily. It was called AmTech Visual Analytics, or AVA for short. We now have the ability for that to work within the EnCore application. So right from within EnCore, you can launch and run reports and dashboards that you've created or that come standard with the system without having to launch a third-party tool. The installation is lightweight. It's web-based, just like EnCore, and you'll see that it's easy to use. So the AVA product is, you can create these beautiful dashboards, and someone in your organization can take this and run with it and become the report writer, giving instant gratification to all the departments that have reporting requests. The standard AVA system comes with a dozen or so dashboards and reports that you can get started with right away, and then your folks can learn how to use the product and create it. Like here, you're seeing an order bookings dashboard by sales rep with color-coded data cards for filtering. So if I clicked on Brian here, it would filter all of this for Brian's orders only. There's date range grabbers on the bottom, and the dashboards are great because they can often replace dozens of different reports you're running just because you want to see the sort a little different or filter on different things. You can build that all into an interactive dashboard and have access to a lot of information on one dashboard. You can always drill down to the details behind the dashboards as well. Just to give you a feel for how that looks within the system, when you go into several of the areas, AVA is right there, and if there are dashboards that have been categorized for these areas, you can go right into them. So if I go into job costing like I did earlier, every one of the modules has the ability to run different dashboards and or reports and intersperse them right into the application, so they don't have to launch a different product to go into those areas. All right, the next module I want to talk about real quickly that's available in EnCore only is called Sign and Drive. So for those of you owners out there that have your own trucks and trailers and drivers, this module is something you want to take a look at, because basically you're able to have your drivers get a proof of delivery signature on a tablet or mobile device phone. It's a web-based application. When the trucks leave the dock, the customers get an automatic advanced shipping notification saying, hey, your delivery's on the way and here's what's coming. Then the truck driver also has the ability to bring that manifest up and see all their stops along the way for those trips. And then as they get to each stop, they're able to hit the unload button and get a signature for each of those deliveries. They can even take care of any discrepancies right then and there on the spot if you give them that permission to do so. And it can adjust the delivery receipt so that the big payoff here, as soon as that proof of delivery is captured, it automatically, if the customer's set up for it, can automatically invoice the customer, send them the invoice, the proof of delivery in an email the same time the delivery is made. So you're kind of speeding up your cash flow. You're also able then in customer service to, after the fact, you can right click an order and bring up that proof of delivery and resend it if you need to, or in accounting for people if they want to have that proof of delivery resent to them. So the sign and drive module is something that is very exciting for all EnCore users to take a peek at, especially when you have your own trailers, although it also works with third-party logistics or 3PL companies. The APC, or automated performance costing module, that's something that if your company hasn't had an updated cost model in years, it's time to maybe take a look at that. Traditionally, we'd send a consultant out on site for a few days and then a few days back in the office writing up the reporting and helping you update your cost model. Most of our customers are updating their board costs and their maybe machine labor costs on a frequent basis when those costs change. But if you've had any kind of changes to your operation, adding on a building or adding a new machine or retiring machine or changing your delivery methods to an outsource, these are significant events that may require you to reevaluate how you're spreading all of your overhead out and how you're allocating your overheads. And this tool allows you to memorialize that, something that was previously done in spreadsheets. And so now you can make those changes to the cost model very quickly, very efficiently, and then even see, as you see here on the right-hand side, see the difference between the old and the new model on the screen and compare those, the differences between the old and the new before you enable the new model. And then you're even able to go out there and have multiple models open at the same time. Only obviously the active model is the one that's being used for your customers, but you can really evaluate how the new model would change your pricing so that you're not caught off guard and you're consistent with your pricing to your users. So that APC module is something that the finance folks really enjoy because it gives them the power to update that cost model without a lot of help from us after the initial setup. And then last but not least, the EnCore events. This is something that just came out about a month ago. And basically it's part of the EnCore system. There's no cost to it. It's just a value to the subscriber, the subscription customers for EnCore. And it's basically the ability for you to subscribe to different alerts and either get a text, an email, or even within the application get alerts up in the upper right-hand corner. I'll show you in a second. But basically, you can have trouble find you. If you want to have an alert when a customer goes on hold, or when a purchase order goes in over a dollar amount, or if an order goes in below a certain level or profit, you can have an automated alert sent to you as a user. You can also have sales reps receive these alerts, and you can also have customers receive alerts if they're so inclined to receive them for different conditions. And there's a lot of flexibility and functionality in this alert system, and we're excited to see the adoption as it grows in the customer base. But again, this is a free value add as part of being an EnCore customer. And just to give you a feel of what that looks like out here in the application, this top level menu, as I mentioned earlier, maybe is where you access all of the different modules in the EnCore system. You can, through security, hide these top level items by user or by role, and then you can also hide or show the sub items underneath the menu. So if I'm only working in shipping and I only need access to warehouse and logistics and the delivery module, I don't even see sales, service, or inventory or financials. I happen to be logged in as an admin, so I'm seeing it all. But over here on the right, there's a little bell icon, and you can see the badge count there is 1. So that means I have one unread alert. And when I click on it, it said that my customer, John Deere, was placed on order hold. So that, I subscribed to the alert that said, hey, if any of my customers go on order hold, I want to know about it. So I got that alert, and it happened in the last day. If I go out to the last 7 days, that's been there. And you can keep these alerts out there to see other alerts that may have happened. You can either delete them or acknowledge them as read, and they'll stay out there, and then you can delete them when you're done seeing them. So this is really a good way for you to keep track of trouble out there and look for trouble, have it find you, so you don't have to go run a report to see the low profit orders or run a report to see any high dollar amount things. You can set those alerts up within the application. And at this point, if there are any questions, Michaela?
So Peter McIver came in with a question asking about tooling, both print and cutting management and tracking. And it was saying that it's not that great in Imaginera. So what are the improvements in EnCore?
Oh, sure, give me a curveball. All right, I'll take a shot at that. So the question had to do with tracking cutting dies and printing plates and things like that. So in the spec maintenance, and I'll just get to it very quick. I had specs open already. Just open one up. In spec maintenance, this is where you can go into die history and you can associate dies, both printing and cutting, with the spec. So this one has 2 printing dies associated and a cutting die associated. If I go into die history, basically what you've got in the cutting and the printing dies is the ability to identify not only the die number, but also its location. And it could have an alternate location as well. And so just at its basis, the die number and the location are stored in this die history. And anytime I run a spec that uses this die, on the factory ticket, I'll see the die number and location. In scheduling, I'll see that information. Out on the floor, factory floor, plant data entry, I'll see that information. And important note, I can keep track of who owns the die. The customer own it, does the plant own it, or is it co-owned? Who I bought the die from, the PO I bought it from, and the vendor. And then if I invoiced a customer for this die, the last time I invoiced that die would be shown here. And then also, most importantly, is when did I last run a job that used this die and how many impressions did I use? So we're able to very quickly and easily see, with some reporting, what dies are maybe candidates for reknifing. We can see maybe for obsolescence. In fact, a good example of that, I believe, and I'm learning how to use the AVA tool myself. I have a die history report I wrote in AVA that would go out and actually prompt the user for a date, like a cutoff date, maybe 2 years ago, and say, hey, show me all dies that haven't been used in the last 2 years. Maybe I want to send a letter to the customers. And here my default is a couple of years ago, I hit submit, I run the report, and I think I have one in here that might have more than a couple there. So here's MVP Computers, one of my customers. I'm saying, hey, here's a list of dies that haven't been used since 12/31/22, and here are the items that you use, and these are the die numbers, because sometimes they're common dies that are on the same item, different items, same die on 2 different items there. So they have not been used since these dates. What do you want me to do with them? Do you want me to send them to you? Do you want me to destroy them? Just want to let you know. So there's a good example of using AVA to solve a business problem. Come up with a list of dies that haven't been used for so many days, or count up the impressions on them. So number one, we have that ability within the die history to categorize the dies, the ownership of them, the location, and then lastly, we track impressions and date last run, so we can use that for die obsolescence. Now, there is an option in inventory as well in the company setup, that if you want to locate and keep track of dies using the inventory module, you can do that. And there are some clients that will barcode that die number and put it on the die so they can scan it to different locations in the building, namely from the die racks to the machine that's going to be using it, and know that that die is sitting at that machine. And then lastly, with die history, there's the ability for you to create custom reasons that die may not be available. And what that does is, in company maintenance, one of the order holds can be, hey, you're putting an order in for a die that's not available. Let me put that order on hold so that you can later review it and then chase down the status of that die. So hopefully I answered that question. Any other questions?
Another one came in, Eric. Crystal reports, replacement for data extraction.
Well, AVA would probably be the best bet for a replacement for Crystal, but you can continue to use Crystal reports as well. The database for EnCore is the same database that you use in Imaginera. We do upgrade the database with some scripts to make it EnCore ready. But in reality, when you go to EnCore and you install the software on your own server or in the cloud, if you choose to kick the tires and look at cloud hosting, but you can put it on premise in your own building, and when you put that software in, it's accessing the same database as Imaginera. In fact, during your transition from Imaginera to EnCore, you can access it from both places. So if you're in EnCore and you're not sure how something works, you can go into Imaginera and do it just as well. We usually don't recommend you keeping them both running, because typically, one of the benefits of going to EnCore is that you can reduce the IT footprint and not have to have so many terminal servers. there used to be a limit internally that we would talk about 25, 30 users on a terminal server. And if you had more users than that, you'd add more terminal servers. Well, with EnCore being a web application, you could have 100, 200 users on a web server without having to add another web server. So your IT footprint ultimately should be less than it is with Imaginera. And so hopefully I answered that question.
And that's looks like all that we have for the questions.
Okay, great. Well, listen, at that point, I will make my pretty face go away. And if you do have want more information on the upgrade from Imaginera to EnCore, you can scan that QR code. The quickest way to get it information is to reach out to your account manager. If you don't know who your account manager is, feel free to reach out to sales@amtechsoftware.com. But you should have been contacted at some point, in the last 3-6 months by your account manager, because every account in the Amtech world has an account manager, and their job is to keep in touch with you, make you aware of new products, help you with any issues you're having, connect you to resources for training, et cetera. So appreciate your time today, and I hope everyone has a great afternoon. Thank you very much.